In the previous episode, we spoke to Kamalesh, the founder of Farming Buddha, about the sustainability of dairy farming businesses in India and also addressed the veganism trend that has slowly penetrated into this country. In this part, we explore with him the challenges and struggles of setting up a sustainable grassroots level business from scratch in India. So stay tuned, as this is a truly inspiring story that has both personal and professional struggles, and there are indeed a lot of lessons and takeaways from this one. I hope you find this interesting.
So, hi, and thanks a lot for taking out the time for this. I was very inspired by when I came across your website. I was very inspired by the kind of model that you have, the cow to cup 4 hour rule, and a very sustainable business model in other aspects as well. So,
Yeah.
before we dive into the main topic of veganism and why it is trending, can you tell tell us a little bit about farming Buddha and the story behind it and how you came up with it. And yeah, so
Yeah. Since my childhood, I mean, always I bought up around cows. I mean, especially in my grandmother's place, where I spent most of my holidays, mostly weekends, and even summer vacation and winter vacation. It was around cows. And that was the breadwinner for my grandmother's family, and in a way, it also gave some kind of financial independence to my grandmother as well.
hmm.
So she could earn something out of by selling milk and butter, ghee, which she used to produce with 5, 6 cows she had that time. And uh, actually, my great grandmother, she, she have faced a lot of hardship in her life, and that also helped my grandmother to have some resilience and within her. And my great grandmother lost her husband when she was very young. I mean, my grandmother was very young, and mostly my grandmother was less than a year, I guess. She lost her
Oh,
husband, and my great grandfather's siblings were not ready to give any property, which means land on those days, to my great grandmother and grandmother, because they considered my grandmother was just a daughter and she will get married and go to someone else house, and why she need a property and all. And they were very cruel, and they went to an extent even to kill my grandmother, and that was very horrible. Even that I heard from my great grandmother only, and she fought a lot. Even like probably this was in 60s, mostly not in 60s, even earlier, I guess. Because when my grandmother passed away in 2003, she was around 75, 78. I think it was even before, I think 50s was very early years of independence, I guess. And she was an illiterate, and my great grandmother, and she used to walk 15 kilometers on a railway track, and she fought this in a court, even coming from a village and illiterate, and she was not exposed to outside world until her husband was alive. And when she was before marriage, her parents took care of her, and she understood everything, and she went to court and she fought the case. And she used to tell, and she used to uh, walk 15 kilometers early in the morning before sunrise. And to safeguard my grandmother, she used to take even the small kid along with her. So if she leave her alone in the village, she was scared that something my great grandfather's siblings would do to her. So
hmm.
she used to walk 15 kilometers early in the morning, the court, which is 15 kilometers away from the village, and she attended the cases, and she spent time till evening in the her advocate's house. And when sun started setting down, and when the heat subsided, yeah, she'll start walking back to the village, and that's how it was for almost 7, 8 long years that she fought for the case.
This is your
Her
great grandmother.
great grandmother. And during those days, till she get the property, the only thing that helped her to sustain, to meet her daily needs and her daughter's, which means my great grandmother's need, was the cow. I mean, one of her well-wisher lended some money, and she bought two cows and she milked and sold the milk, and that's how actually she was able to manage to pay the fee for the advocate and meet her needs and all. And even my grandmother continued that. And when I was around I mean, she had almost until 2012-13, she was having around 6 to 8 cows always will be there in the house, and she used to milk and sell it to local cooperative, and some turn that into some part of milk into butter and sell it locally. And throughout her life, that gave her financial independence. She never depended on my grandfather for any of her expenses or for any of her needs. So she always independent, and she got to learn that from her mother. So and my great grandmother was my grandmother is still alive, and she's around 80 plus now. And my great grandmother always used to tell, even to my grandmother and also even to my mother and her siblings are all. So women should always be independent when it comes to money. So
So who
you
was the
know,
one who passed away in 2003? It was
my
your great
great grandmother.
grandmother. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and she is an inspiration to me. Even like even in the entrepreneurship, and even when I was in my studies, whenever I feel up, up and low, and she is always an inspiration to me. I mean, we have never faced that kind of hardship that she have gone through. I mean, she used to walk barefoot on a railway track for 15 kilometers for fighting against it. It's not a simple thing. And even she was telling she used to walk around a kilometer to get drinking water for very long. And she took, I mean, it was very hard for her to bring her only daughter, that in that circumstances where her husband sibling, just for the sake of property, were even ready to going to an extent to kill my grandmother. So yeah, that's how it was. And yeah, and that always fascinated me when I was very young, probably 7 8 years old. I used to go with my grandmother, and sometimes even with my great grandmother, to give butter to someone who ordered in, probably in the village or near neighboring village. And sometimes if someone have not paid the money who took on credit, my grandmother probably were very close to us. My grandmother or great mother used to generally it was my great grandmother. She used to send me to their house to collect the money, and whenever I used to go and collect the money and come back to home and give it to the money, she used to give a 50 paisa or 1 rupee or 25 paisa out of it for me to buy the chocolates or something. So on those days, I was not understanding the money what it was. But one thing I understood was, yeah, milk and butter gets me chocolate. That's the only thing. I mean, I was not understanding what that money was. But if something I know gives milk to someone else or butter, and in exchange, I can get the chocolate. That's the only understanding I had, chocolate or biscuit something, and that's how it started my affiliation with the milk or affinity towards the dairy. And yeah, and since then I was always um, I'm very what to say, animal person, and especially I love cows and dogs a lot. So yeah, whenever I go to vacation and all that, that's how I used to spend my time. And later, during 2013 or 14, I mean, my grandmother was aged. I think she was around 70, and she was not in a position to take care of the cows. And even before 2012, 13, my maternal uncles were taking care of it, and they gradually started selling cows one after the other. And by the time it was 2016, 17, there was not even a single cow in the house. They sold everything.
Yes.
Yeah, there are various reasons for to it, and one thing, the dairy was almost unsustainable. And in between this, actually, my father was working in a public sector undertaking, which was Mandya National Paper Mills, and it got shut down most likely in 2002 or three, as I remember, or even around that year. Because it was a loss-making unit, the then central government, headed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, have decided to shut down all loss-making PSUs across India. So, and this was the one which got shut down very early. So, and my father was altogether unemployed at an age of 40, 45. Overnight, he became unemployed. And for on those days, it was very hard to meet even the needs of our family to my father. And of course, he came back and I started farming with a small piece of land. But that whatever he, I mean, we all know here. Um, when we have a good rain, we won't be having a proper rate. When we have a proper rate, there will be a pest attack. And one or the other thing, it's not like a shoe thing. If we get very good, we can't say, but at least moderate returns in the farming next year, it will be complete loss. It's a kind of thing. So it was more or less like a gambling farming here. Actually, my great grandmother until she was alive, and also my grandmother who supported me, who supported us in our education through whatever the money she was earning through selling milk and byproducts. She supported in one or the other way um, to complete her education, even my sisters as well as mine. Yeah, and yeah, that made when I started growing up, coming to college, that later when I started understanding money, then I thought, yeah, this is the one thing that can keep, make a woman independent, especially village in the woman in the village financially independent. And this is the skill they already have. They did not do, skilled. And this is the one thing which can make women liberated and independent mostly. So, and also, uh, both men and women who are responsible enough can support their family and also their kids' education somewhat. That always, always there deep inside my mind. And after my master's and all, I went to and I worked in a couple of corporates, and also I was there into teaching institutions for some time. And yeah, when I started, I mean, later my connection with my grandmother's village was not as strong as it was or as frequent as it was in my college days or in my student days. Then I started going. I was going only once or twice a year, only during the festivals or some event or something like that. So then I started seeing that there is no cows in the house, and all farming, what my maternal uncles were doing, was completely switched to kind of from organic natural farming to completely chemical based farming. They started using a lot of fertilizers, chemical based fertilizers, and pesticides came in, and completely the method of agriculture have changed, and there was no cows in the home, and in a way the additional income they were getting out of selling milk or through cows have stopped. And even my maternal uncles, they even their standard of living started deteriorating year on year, and also they even went to a point where they were able to sell part of their land to clear off their debt. As I know, until my great grandmother and grandfather was there, there was not even a single rupee of debt in my grandmother's family. And even my grandfather was equally an inspirational person, and he was also a very hard worker. And when both passed away, maternal uncles took the responsibility. The situation have changed completely. And even by 2018, one of my maternal uncle have sold, uh, you know, 2 acres of his land to clear off the debt. So yeah, this is the situation. And another important thing is, in all these days, I was brought up with many of the kids in the village around my great grandmother's house and all. And when I was going to village after I started working in corporates, I could not able to find many of those. Not many, most of those, except one or two. None of those guys were in village. And I just started inquiring. They said they all have migrated from the village to cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, and some even to Mysore, and some they don't know where they went in search of livelihood and all, because most of them were like people who had very small parcel of land, or they were agricultural landless laborers, and here the livelihood opportunity started decline, and they all moved out of the village in search. Um, and actually, this made me to thinking, and reinforcing my thought of going back to village and do something where better livelihood opportunities can be generated. So that's how the actual my journey with the village started. Finally in 2018, I have decided to go back to village and do something of my own. So, and at that time, this dairy excited me. So I thought, why don't we start a dairy? And another reason why a lot of cows were sold in my even in my grandmother's place and also in my even in my village was it was in 2012-13. The same village where I am operating now was producing around 1,000+ liters of milk every day. Uh, so today the same village is producing around 400 liters of milk every day. Because the dairy have become commercially unviable because the cost of input that goes into cow to feed everything have gone up, and whereas the cost of milk have not substantially increased in proportion to the cost of inputs. So now more or less the dairy have become a loss making thing. So gradually people have started stopping keeping the cows, and that is also one of the predominant reason. Yeah, and then I thought, why don't we go back to village and create a proper market to this, and in a way, the livelihood opportunities can also be created.
So
When I
2018 is when it all started. Like 2018
no,
is when
actually
the
in
seed
2000,
was born in your head.
that was the time when when I left the city and went back to village. But I start and two of my other friends have joined to with me in this plan. And when we started uh, building a small structure to milk bottling and milk chilling and also value addition and all, a lot of women started approaching us. They especially for job. That is one part. And in the meantime, my other two co-founders, when the idea, in the beginning, the idea was to work on the milk, like the farming Buddha that we are doing now. But my other two co-founders, I mean, people in their network started like scaring them with like milk is a highly perishable thing. It's very hard to run the business, and if something even a minute thing goes wrong, the entire batch of milk goes unused and it will cause you huge loss and all. Then after some point of time, and even before the completion of the structure that we were building, they were like, no, let's not do the milk and let's do something else. Anyways, we have invested on the structure and all, let's do something. That was their idea. So then in the meantime, a lot of women started approaching us asking for a job. So then we were figuring out what to do. Then my grandfather was equal an entrepreneur and he was running a Jaggery unit. And he passed away in year 2001, I think. Until then, whatever the Jaggery used to produce, he used to sell it directly to consumer in the local weekly bazaars. So he never used to give the Jaggery to middlemen. So I have witnessed myself multiple times. Many middlemen have approached him to give them a Jaggery, so that they'll cut the burden of him taking all the Jaggery to bazaar and selling. So they'll do that job while keeping minimum profit on it. That's what it. Then he was like, it's my sweat, it's my hard work that transformed the sugarcane into Jaggery, and why should I give it to you to sell to someone? I can do it. I can do that job myself. That's what he used to. I know he never did that. And until then, the Jaggery unit was profitable and it was doing well. And my grandfather did not had even a single rupee of debt on it. So, and all his people working with us with him were taken care of. After demise of my grandfather, my maternal uncles took over the Jaggery unit and they went with a crowd and they started giving it to middlemen, and they started later gradually they started making loss with that model, and finally they had shut down the Jaggery unit in 2016. So when this woman started approaching me, I first thing came to my mind is, why don't I revive the Jaggery, especially chemical free, natural and organic Jaggery? Why don't we start making that? That's the one thing. And another thing was I came to a lot of newspapers that edible oil is being adulterated highly in India, especially the one in the name of refined oil that we're consuming is not actually an edible oil. It mixed with a lot of adulteration. And some people even said that there are a lot of petroleum byproducts that have been adulterated with edible oil, that we started hearing from many people. So then we thought, why don't we work on this? And then that is when my other startup, the Grassroots Organic Farms, originated, and that's how the Grassroots Organic Farms came into existence.
What came
So
into
then
existence?
Grassroots Organic Farms, my other
Yeah.
startup, which is
Okay, okay, okay.
that
I don't know
yeah that
about this.
yeah
Okay.
that I started in 2018.
Okay.
So, and it's a completely a different journey, and it's a very long story. To keep it short, we started to understand what are the different methods of oil production. One is solvent extraction method. That is what the refined oil is being produced using. And in that, there are a lot of chemical goes into extraction process, like hexane and some mild acids and all. So we did not wanted to do that for two main reasons. One, it's completely not healthy. So we always wanted to do something which is free from chemicals, which is always there in whatever we do. It should be a good product, good for health. It should not cause any side effects or harmful to our health. That is the one which that clarity we always had. So for that reason, we did not want. Another thing, that solvent extraction method process also demands a huge investment and also needs very high skill sets that this women who are coming to us asking for a job did not have, and they want specially trained and qualified technicians to handle those plants. So then, then that option was ruled out for these two strong reasons. Then the other thing was the cold press or expeller or rotary, whatever you see in the cities in a machine motor driven, that's the option. Then when we started speaking with some of the nutritionists and some of the even Ayurvedic doctors, they told that that oil to become a really cold pressed one, it has to be extracted near room temperature. In the machine, whatever we are consuming in the city now as in the name of cold pressure, it is not actually true cold pressure. It's a pure oil for sure, but it's not actually true cold pressed oil, where because there the speed the RPM is too high, so that itself generates a lot of heat in the extraction process. That should not happen. So it should be very slow. So and then and also in the meantime, the woman whom we wanted to employ, and they were a little bit scared of those motors and machineries. So then we thought, then the other method is slow method, was traditional method, which was extracted using the bull in the olden days. So the bull used to pull that Ghana in a slow, like one or two or maximum three RPM. So that is actually the true cold press oil that we. And then we started finding that oil extracting unit across the states, and finding nearby, and then we could not able to find, and then we got to know from one of the person there are they are almost extinct. And later when in that journey we got to know that in a small town nearby, just called Pandupura, nearby our village where we are operating now. He said once in that village, probably 90s, there were around more than 30 families who were doing this occupation, and no one is doing now, because after when this refined oil bombarded the market with cheap price and all those guys could not able to sustain, all got vanished. So then we traveled almost all South Indian states, Telangana, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, even Pondicherry, and Andhra Pradesh, and even we also came to Maharashtra in search of these units and how the oils were made in those places, and what are the oils actually generally traditionally people have been consuming for centuries in those places. Then we understood that actually even this oil, there is a lot of diversity. Like we have diversity in our culture, food, and our mostly our clothes, our language. Like even here, there is a diversity in oil as well. If we go to Tamil Nadu, people consume mostly gingery or sesame oil more, and in
Yeah.
Karnataka, in the southern part, they consume more of groundnut. In Kerala, you go coconut, and in coastal part of Karnataka, again
Coconut.
coconut. Yeah, and if we come to northern part of Karnataka and also some part of Maharashtra, they consume safflower. And if we go to North India and West Bengal, it's mostly mustard. So that's how the oil consumption, that's how diverse it was. And then finally we figured out, I mean, we try to find the people who could make this, in Kannada we call it as Gana. In Tamil, it's called Tamil Malayalam, it's called as Chekku. And in Malayalam, in Telugu, they call it as Gani. So I don't know what they call in Marathi and Hindi. So
Kachi gani.
yeah,
We call it
so
gani.
yeah, so then we could not even able to find a people who can make that new unit to us, because even those skill sets have lost, and people who had that skill set, they're almost 85 90, and they're not in a place to do that. And finally one guy was ready to guide us, but he was 80 plus, he could not do, but only his condition was to get some young people, so he'll guide them, so they have to do according to his guidance. Then we tried multiple people, and this is a little bit laborious and hard job. So they were not
With
ready.
the bull and all you mean. With
No, that making that unit, that's extraction.
uh-huh.
First we need to make that unit, that one, no,
Uh-huh.
on a wood, by chipping the wood. So finally we found 3 4 guys, and we paid twice or thrice the money that they were earning every day. And we were able to, after doing a lot of trial and error, after 2 units for getting failed to do a proper one, the third unit was successful, and finally we started extracting oil and giving it to our friends and families, and our ex-colleagues and all. That's how it started. And then we wanted to, our demand gradually increased. Then we wanted to add a few more units, and in the meantime, a lot of women were waiting for job, as keep coming to us often. So then we thought, and those guys who made the first unit were not ready to come back and do it, because it was very hard thing to do. Then we traveled across Tamil Nadu and Andhra. Then we found the old unused stone unit, and we bought from them. Even we have a stone unit which was manufactured in 1957. Now that old it was. And that lady who gave it to us, she gave it for free. She didn't even took a single penny, and she was very emotional with that, because she said her, father-in-law and mother-in-law was using, extracting the oil out of it, and later she and her husband continued with the same thing, and then our kids were now more interested in that, and also it was not sustainable. Then we kept unused for last 35 40 years. That's what she said. Then we bought that, and we installed, and like this the journey started. And we started, and even we started getting inquiries from even outside Karnataka, and well, now we are shipping across India, that edible oil. And in the meantime we also revived the Jaggery unit, and now we are making this chemical free Jaggery as well. That even that we are, I mean, our intention is to generate at least 100 jobs in my own village, with according to latest census that is available with us, which is 2011. Our own village have recorded around 47% unemployment. Even if we see a lot of people,
What's the exact name of
unemployed.
your village?
Nelamane.
Sorry?
Nelamane.
Ilabanai. Okay.
Nelamane. Nela means land. Mane
Okay.
means house. Yeah.
Okay. Can you spell it?
Nela
Nela?
Mane.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's how it's now. We have employed 30 plus people. So our aim is to create at least 100 jobs in our own village in next 3 years. So that's what we're aiming for. Yeah. So then, but in the back of my mind, always dairy was there in my mind. So I always wanted to go back and do. Then in 2022, so I started hunt. I mean, I used to speak a lot about dairy with my wife often. So, and even one of my close friend, I used to, and both said, see, this is actually, you have been speaking for very long. Even like when you were in college, you were speaking about this, that something you wanted to do this. And even when you were in job, you were speaking this. And even you, after doing something in the village, still you are speaking this. You want, so that is your true call, and you just go back and do something, whatever you want to. And if uh, if the co-founders of your existing company is not do not want to do that there, then you find the right people to do this, and started. Then in 2022, in the before that, I had visited a lot of this dairy based small farms, and people who had done little bit differently and who could able to sell the milk directly to consumers, like my grandmother was doing, and could be able to do some value addition and sell value added products and all. In that journey, I met a couple of people in that. Ravi sir, who is also co-founder of mine in this farming Buddha, and Salman, both of them I met in this journey, and they are also interested to do something in in a little more larger scale, and which can leave a larger impact on the society as well as farming community, especially in the village. So then we all three came together, and 2022 May end, May 30th or 31st, we incorporated this company, the Farming Buddha. So that's how the journey started. Yeah.
Okay. So, so I understand that it's different from the other similar sort of industries wherein this is like a local network
Yeah.
of farmers and not
Yeah.
just one farm.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
did you get in touch with the other farmers in your village and build a network like that? And is it how it went about? Or
Yeah. When we started selling oil and jaggery directly to consumers, and as we grew our market size in the oil and jaggery, many farmers who have one, two, or three, or four cows who are supplying milk to someone else started approaching us that they want to sell. I mean, if we could, is there any way that we could help them in selling their milk, or we can taking the milk from them for better price, which can sustain, which will be win-win for both. So yeah, and also as I told you, I also wanted to do this. So both the forces combined together, we incorporate this. But and since we had also had our own farm of 15 cows, so first we started marketing our own milk, and then in the meantime we started we planned to associate with other farmers. But what happened, especially in the village, there are a lot of things come into play. It's not just your intent, and also the people, the need of the people around. There's also a lot of politics comes in. So some people who are not happy with the what we are doing, and because there is a reason from their end as well, because uh, there were people who used to lend money to this woman or these people who were working with us before, and they used to take exorbitant interest rates on that money. And also those people used to employ this woman to work in their fields for lesser,
a lot of
by paying,
corruption? Yeah.
yeah, by paying less. Now after we started this, nearly 35 people, out of it more than 60% are women, even up to 70% of women who are working with us. Now they are finding it hard to find a woman to work in their field for the less money. And also they're finding it hard to mm, uh, lend the money to this woman, because they have become self-sufficient. And even when in emergencies they need, like in COVID, when in the first COVID lockdown, most of the classes went online, and many of our women who were working with us did not have a smartphone, and we helped them with our own credit cards to get them a smartphone, so that they can pay back to us in EMIs amount, whatever it comes, in a small amount. So if probably if we would have not been there, probably these women went to those people for
Loan
to
again.
borrow money from them for paying again. And for this, those people started influencing these guys and threatening them and all. So when we went to the farmers, I mean, when we plan to add some more farmers outside our own production, uh, in fact, first 3 months, we could not able to even to get one farmer to our board. So they all were misled. Like, this guy, what will you do if these guys will shut down in next 6 months? If it's not profitable, they'll shut down. What will you do? Then old guy will, and even the old guy threatened them. Once if you go out of me, I will not take you back. If you come back to again to me.
So these were the ones who had employed the farmers,
Yeah,
all these people. Okay.
yeah. So and finally, what we decided is, finally actually we convinced the first woman Her name is Mangalama. She is our first farmer to take, take a bold decision to come to us, leaving the earlier buyer. And yeah, and she came to us with her one cow, and she started giving 3 to 4 liters of milk every day. And she's the only one for next 1 month. And later, and we were paying. She's earning 40% more than what she's earning previously from a previous guy.
So
So she
previous guy used to sell it to the dairy, or was he himself directly selling the milk?
he a previous guy used to sell it to a large dairy actually. He used to source from her and sell it to large dairy for even more, higher price. So now she's getting 40% more than what she was getting from earlier guy. And second month she decided to get a new cow, and she wanted some financial support. And we pulled in our ex-colleagues in a company, whether they could be able to lend small amount like 50,000 for her. And on behalf of her, we'll give them the guarantee, and we'll deduct some part of the money that she is going to earn through the milk and give it to them. So for 0% interest. And some of our friends who are, who wanted to do something to the society, and they came forward. And two of my friends put 2,000 each, and 25,000 each, and they lent a 50,000 to her, and she bought one more cow. And that's how it started. Then now we are working more than 27 farmers in and around village. So, and we have at least 30 plus farmers who are in waiting list to join us now.
Okay, okay, it's
So
really
yeah, but
nice.
yeah, so once the market picks up, we'll add them gradually one after the other. Yeah,
So y'all, I mean, it's a local delivery which is going on. So because since it is only 4 hours of a window,
yeah,
I think within from cow to cup, it's like 3 to 4 hours. So
yeah,
you will not be able to manage delivery to far off places, right? I mean, because
yeah,
of that. So it's
yeah.
around your village, or is
Yeah,
it?
basically, the market that we are catering now is Mysore, which is around 24, 25 kilometers away from the village where we are operating. It takes around 25 to 30 minutes to reach Mysore from our place. So yeah, right now we are catering to only in Mysore.
Okay, and you have plans of expansion to other parts of the country.
At least
You will have to
for
then again set up the same network at
yeah,
another
yeah.
place.
Yeah. So now the dairy industry that is operating not just in India, across the world, it's a more of centralized thing. What they do is they get the milk from far off places like hundreds, 200 or 300 kilometers away, sometimes even and even to Maharashtra, actually milk comes from Karnataka.
Hmm.
Since we are a surplus producer, and even Kerala it goes from Karnataka, and in Kerala also gets milk from Tamil Nadu, and even to northern states like Madhya Pradesh and all, milk is going from
So
Karnataka
because they
and
have
everything.
to transport the milk from such a far off place, they use preservatives and all to ensure that the
Yeah,
milk
that is
is.
the Yeah, that is the one part, and it's the most unsustainable thing. In the centralized model, what we do, uh, and milk travel hundreds of kilometers. So in that process, we consume a lot of fossil fuels like diesel or petrol, and even
Yeah,
for
right.
chilling electricity and all. So if it needs to be sustainable, the milk has to be. In our model, our idea is to.
So the rest of the story continues on to another episode which has already been uploaded to the channel. You can find its link in the description, or you can find it as a thumbnail on the screen itself. So in that episode we discuss the sustainability of dairy farming businesses in India. We also address all aspects of veganism. As you all know, veganism has penetrated into this country more so since the last few decades. So, all questions related to veganism that we all have, such as is the dairy farming industry being cruel to cows, or are we depriving the calves of their share of milk by drinking that milk ourselves, or what happens to old cows? Are they slaughtered? So, all kinds of questions related to veganism that we typically have been addressed in that episode, and it is particular to the dairy farming landscape in India. So I hope to find that episode insightful. Do subscribe to the channel. It helps support the purpose of the channel, which is to bring authentic information and knowledge through experts who have first-hand experience about the subjects that they are talking about. So thank you for watching this episode, and stay tuned for the future episodes as well. Thanks.